in Jutland, Denmark, about 20 kilometers away from the town of Silkeborg. Wide farmlands with their rolling fields and wild heath are lying close together. A lovely place for a holiday in nature. But in recent years, this has also become an area of self-development, as numerous esoteric and spiritual movements have established their centers here. There is a tent town raised here for more than 2,000 people who have come from over 25 countries around the world to participate in a spiritual seminar. The organizer is the Sri Ramchandra Mission, a spiritual movement which is practicing meditation in the tradition of the ancient Indian Raja Yoga. The method is called Sahaj Marg, or the natural path, and has followers all over the world. The cause of this big international meeting is a visit by the Indian master in Denmark. The accommodation is extremely simple. No comforts, only the bare necessities. For some of the meditators, quite a challenge to be faced with the basic facts of life.
What room are you living in?
Yeah. Room there. With the 10.
Do you know what number?
The tent town relieves the nearby ashram of the Sri Ramchandra Mission at Vratsane, the actual center of this big meeting. Here the master himself will be staying. As the ashram can only house around 600 people, it is not capable of matching the big international rush which the impending visit of the master is creating. The ashram is a place of introspection and inner growth. The followers of the Sahaj Marg system are also called by the Sanskrit term Abhyasi. All year round, the ashram is open for the Abhyasis in order to meditate, to retreat, and take part in the ashram life. But also other people interested in spirituality are always welcome. The ashram is being supported by the help and voluntary donations of the followers. Why are more and more people nowadays turning towards so-called alternative practices in order to find themselves and to develop?
Tutta la gente ha un bisogno di alternativo, no? Alla religione che già conosce, che ha saputo non portare nessun vantaggio, no? Fino adesso, cioè la religione a cui si appartiene non ci ha dato un grande aiuto.
Even youngsters feel attracted to meditation today, but the minimum age for meditation in this system is 18.
Aber ich habe gemerkt, dass mir die Religion nicht genug bringen konnte. Ich konnte mich nicht selber nach etwas richten und selber arbeiten. Dort konnte ich nur durch Texte etwas erfahren und lesen, was andere gemacht haben, aber ich konnte selber nicht vorwärts kommen.
Pendant longtemps, j'ai cherché pour savoir quelle était la raison de cette souffrance et de cette vie. Et puis, bien sûr, avec le temps, petit à petit, on apporte des réponses, mais la réponse la plus adaptée et, disons, la réponse aussi la plus efficace à ma question, ça a été la méditation.
There is today a confusing variety of methods and goals if you want expansion of consciousness and inner development. The Sahaj Marg system, however, has a purely spiritual goal.
Jeg oplever en masse mennesker i Danmark, der kommer efter at have deltaget i et hav af kurser. Vi har meget med weekendkurser, vi har meget med terapeutiske kurser, vi har shamankurser, og vi har alt muligt, der i øvrigt ofte bliver defineret som spirituelt. Og jeg oplever tit, at folk kommer og siger, at de har oplevet, de har gået til en masse af de ting, men der er et indre behov, de ikke har fået opfyldt. Og det er det, som jeg definerer som det spirituelle, og som de også gør, og det er tit det behov, som folk får opfyldt ved at meditere.
Spirituality, the becoming one with the spiritual being within the human self, is in fact nothing new. In every religion there have been persons who have set themselves this goal. In Christianity they were called mystics, in Islam Sufis, in Hinduism Rishis. But whilst in the West it was all left to the individual to reach this goal through his own efforts, there were in the East, especially in India, teachers, methods and spiritual paths designed to lead towards this oneness with the inner spiritual self. The oldest spiritual path we know of is Raja Yoga, which has already been mentioned in the Vedas around 5000 before Christ. Sahaj Marg is a modern form of Raja Yoga, of which the basic method is meditation. It has always been known that the core of the human being is divine. But as the thoughts of the average human are constantly circling around his own wishes and problems, he cannot come in touch with this inner divine self. In Sahaj Marg, the Abhyasi learns by meditation to overcome the restless activities of the mind and to direct them towards the divine origin within. This contact with the divine enlivens and transforms the practicer. However, the most essential element in Raja Yoga and in Sahaj Marg is the master. The master embodies the divine goal and has the task of helping the disciple in his progress. That is why the master should always be a living being. The actual master is Sri P. Rajagopalachari, affectionately shortened to Chariji, and lives in Madras, India. He was designated as successor by his own master Ramchandra, called Babuji. Babuji was the founder of this mission and established that the spiritual services of this system should be open to any seeker, free of charge and without further obligations. The first master of this dynasty was called Lalaji. He had rediscovered an ancient, most effective spiritual technique where the master furthers the development of his disciple through transmission of divine energy, prana. This yogic technique has been passed down from one master to the next, and it is through the link with the actual living master that the Abhyasi can receive this transmission. During the introduction into the system, the seeker gets into spiritual contact with the master, and the transmission begins to flow to him wherever he may be. Some of these Abhyasis have been given the capacity by the master to pass on this spiritual transmission to other Abhyasis in his absence. This transmission of divine energy dissolves the inner impressions and complexities in the Abhyasis, brings them to the surface and washes them away. At the same time, the growing inner space within the Abhyasi is being filled with divine energy. In Sahaj Marg, any kind of constraint is avoided, as the continuous inner cleaning and the deep contact with the divine lead to a renewal of the personality in a natural way. The heart is the point of meditation in Sahaj Marg. In all religions, the heart is considered the doorway to the divine. Also, the character of a human being is described by the qualities of his heart. Whoever wants to change has therefore to start with his own heart. Sahaj Marg does not teach escapism and does not lead away from the duties of life. The Abhyasis are taught that it is in their daily life, within the family and job, that the spiritual development really has to stand the test and unfold.
This is the way it is here.
But a Raja Yoga system for family people today is only realistic if it is adapted to the rhythm of modern life.
Does meditation fit to the American way of life? Well, this particular meditation fits very easily with the American way of life because it's built on some philosophy about that the family life is the place where spiritual growth really happens. And so family life is really encouraged and enriched, and because it's the meditation practice itself is really confined to only about 100 minutes a day. And so you can have an hour's practice in the morning and half an hour in the evening and then a few minutes before bed at night. And it's very, just that little bit is really conducive to really changing your whole day.
Although the Sri Ramchandra mission has never made any publicity, its system has spread all over the world within the last 50 years. There are today Sahaj Marg centers on all the continents. The old thought that all human beings have the same origin and therefore are brothers and sisters regardless of their race or nationality has become a reality here.
So politically, in terms of white people sitting with Indian people for meditation, that's a completely bizarre concept. It has no bearing on anything. You know, this is about spirituality. Spirituality is beyond races, it's beyond gender, and it's so sort of subtle that it's beyond most material things.
Life is very difficult for people now, especially in Russia. I mean, the whole Russia as it was several years ago, as it was a union. And you know, people are very tired and they're very irritated, they are very angry with their life because they have so many troubles. And you know, they are very angry with each other. So that, and this I was too. And this helps me just to look with other eyes to all those people. And you know, we're learning how to love people here.
The experience of the divine presence within the inner self gives a new consciousness to people. Also, atheists or people with a negative approach to God get a new attitude towards life.
Yes, in fact, I was very much against God until I got acquainted with Sahaj Marg. I thought, if there is a God, I don't want him. You know, I don't want to be a slave of his desires because he wants us to get married, have children, and then die, live in misery. It was only through Sahaj Marg that I realized that the person, the superhuman being I used to talk to in my heart is in fact God.
To give a new direction to their lives, more and more people turn towards spirituality. But the question arises whether one cannot walk this path alone. Why does one need a master for one's spiritual development? The figure of the spiritual master has no tradition in the West. What a real master can do for the development of his disciple is generally unknown.
Nach 18 Jahren Meditation, ohne einen Menschen, der den Weg für sich selbst gegangen ist und dadurch auch andere anleiten kann, hätte ich es alleine wohl nicht so lange und in dieser Intensität machen können. Aber auch das ist ein Kuriosum, was in unserem Kulturkreis für Golf, für Tennis absolut akzeptiert ist, dass man hier einen Lehrer hat, kommt es sofort zu einem gewissen Zurückzucken, wenn es um spirituelle Lehrtätigkeit geht. Hier glauben die Menschen, es selbst machen zu können und was für sie am besten ist, entscheiden zu können. Und da kann ich nur sagen, aus meiner kleinen Erfahrung heraus, sollte man nicht tun.
To follow a spiritual path is not always easy. In the East, the necessity of a master has therefore been acknowledged at all times. But in the West, people are reluctant to entrust themselves to the guidance of another, and there is a partly justified fear to get into the wrong hands. Should difficulties prevent one from looking for a true master?
Vi har i Vesten haft en stor angst for at have en mester. Sikkert fordi, at vi har set mange, der har kaldt sig mestre. Vi har set mange blive mere eller mindre voldtaget åndeligt af mestre og blive misbrugt. Men samtidig så må man nok gøre sig klart, at hvis man vil have en korrektion, så skal den komme et sted fra. Og hvis vi har et mål som det højeste, så er det meget vigtigt, at det bliver et rigtigt mål, og ikke den idé, vi har om det. Og derfor er vi nødt til at prøve at bruge al vores styrke og al vores viden til at finde et menneske, der repræsenterer noget af det. Det handler noget om at se, at det faktisk er muligt at nå det mål for et almindeligt menneske. Og det handler også om, at han rent konkret kan gøre noget for at hjælpe mennesker.
Many of these people have started their practice at home and will meet their master here for the first time. An exciting moment to face a person that has realized such a high goal and possesses such special powers. How do we imagine such an outstanding personality? Here comes the master of the Sahaj Marg system. At first glance, one can hardly notice that there is a master walking with his followers. His appearance is natural, friendly. No special clothes, no outer behavior that should bring him into prominence, nothing that should designate holiness or excellence. He is a brother, a friend. His task is to lead all those who follow him to their inner goal. Not as an unreachable ideal, but as a human example, as a loving presence. In the Sahaj Marg system, the material and the spiritual life should develop equally, side by side. Also in this, Chariji's life is an example to his followers. He has a family and used to be a most successful company manager. At the same time, he was such a devoted and evolved disciple of his master that he was selected to become his successor. Today he only lives to continue the work of his master, a task which does not leave him any rest.
Yes. Maybe we will have a surprise. Okay, let me see some touch. Yes, please. Yes. Thank you.
Among the Abhyasis who have come from all over the world is the master's brother. He sums up the task of a spiritual master in the following way.
You see, divinity is there within all of us. It is our inability to find that divinity within us that makes us remain the human beings that we are. And it is the ability of a guru who has already found that divinity within him, which separates him from the crowd. And what is the purpose of a guru? The purpose of a guru basically is to teach us to look inwards and locate and find that divinity.
But not all so-called gurus have this capacity. Many of them attract the attention by outer effects or impressive promises. For the seeker, it is often difficult to discern between show and real value. Who has the precondition to be able to judge the level of development and the inner capacities of a master? Who knows what spirituality really is before he has actually walked such a path? There is therefore a real danger to fall a prey to the outer fascination of a guru.
And that is why you can find, if you go to places like, where the Ganges flows, Rishikesh, Haridwar and other places, every third fellow is a chap with a saffron robe, and you will find a few of these foreign people looking for gurus sitting around them. Now, this clearly reflects the lack of perception in the eyes of the Western people in how to evaluate a guru. See, one of the most important things we must realize is that a guru needs to be evaluated very much as a system needs to be evaluated. And many of them fall into the trap while evaluating, because it is relatively easy to perform miracles, materializing a watch or materializing a bouquet of flowers, something like that. And these are the instruments through which people get misguided. Performance of petty miracles. As Babaji used to say, it is very easy. Anybody who has siddhi powers can materialize objects. But to the person who doesn't know it, he thinks a great thing has been done. Therefore, Babaji advises that before you take up any practice, you must be very sure about what you yourself want. Is it that you want material wealth or material gains through spiritual practice? Or is it that you want to be elevated to the highest possible level of realization?
To lead a life without problems or to attain yogic powers is not the goal of spiritual development in Sahaj Marg. Sahaj Marg leads to divinity by developing the heart, the doorway to divinity, where egocentricity and the need for power have to be left behind. Though special capacities and powers can develop during spiritual development, not much heed is paid to them in Sahaj Marg. But today, many of the new religious systems of Indian brand, they try to develop such special powers, siddhis, or they make it as a goal.
Yes, traditionally in Raja Yoga, the siddhis has always been warned again. Patanjali, who is regarded as the authority on the ancient authority on Raja Yoga and who has composed the Yoga Sutras, which is the standard scripture on Raja Yoga. He mentioned all the different powers you could gain through the practice of yoga. But he also warned against the use of them, because whenever you feel tempted to use those powers, you, as it was considered in the ancient Raja Yoga, you would lose hold of the real goal, of the real miracle, which would be the attainment of the divine. Raja means a king in Sanskrit, but it also means noble. So Raja Yoga is really the yoga that leads to the highest and has the very most noble ideals of morality, of purity, of ethics.
Sahaj Marg means the natural path, referring to a natural development towards the highest goal which nature has designed for man, a state which is conceived of as the highest reality.
Lukas, tegnestenen.
The goal of this meditation is called reality. Now, what reality is meant by this?
I'm afraid there is a little limitation there. The goal of this meditation is perfection of the human being, which is said to be synonymous with the divine status, divine state. As far as reality is concerned, of course, that is the reality. See? Reality is defined in spirituality as something which is eternal, which is unchanging. Nothing which changes can be really real in that sense, you see. A chocolate which melts and becomes full of ants and degraded is no more real. It was real for a moment in time. We are real for a few years. When we are dead, we are no more real. So what is that which is real? Real here means the truth also, you see. The truth is real, a lie is unreal. So when we come to the eternality of something, that is reality. Therefore God is only reality, nothing else is real. And for us to become real, we have to become like Him.
In spiritual literature, there's often this expression of a person became enlightened. Is this enlightenment the same thing as the goal in Sahaj Marg?
Enlightenment is lower, I won't say lower or higher in the sense of comparative, you know, but it is, shall we say, a stage on the path. For instance, we are supposed to be on the average in darkness about so many things. Ignorance is equated with darkness. So when we are ignorant, we are living in darkness. When that darkness is removed and knowledge comes in, we call it enlightenment.
Is there something like a divine will or plan globally or also individually for people?
There must be a divine plan for the whole universe, you see. And since we are part of it, it is very much for us too.
Are all masters working towards this the same divine plan? And could you speak a little more about this plan?
Nature's plan can be shortly said to be a plan of evolution. Evolutionary plan. How something can begin as what it is and evolve to be him who created it. Like every father wants his son to be like himself, every mother wants a daughter to be like herself. It is an evolutionary plan. Though we put ourselves with our limitations as the goal for that child. But God, not having a person or a name or qualities, cannot have any attribute-based or achievement-based plan for us. Therefore, our evolution cannot depend on achievement or powers and things like that. Therefore, the divine plan of evolution must be the evolution of the life form, whatever it is, through the various life forms, to this divine state where there is no question of form, name, attributes. This has to be the divine plan. You see, I cannot conceive of a second plan. This being so, sincere gurus must work towards enabling and helping their disciples to follow this path of evolution. I would suggest that if any guru offers material inducements, physical inducements, that you will become powerful, you will become beautiful, you will have a happy life, you will have an obedient wife and things like that, that guru does not really understand what is spirituality. So in our system, I believe we are following this divine plan of evolution in this sense that we try to encourage the abhyasis of the system to look towards only that goal of spiritual evolution and forget all other subsidiary goals. They may be goals of human endeavor, but not of spiritual endeavor. This is our endeavor.
And the goal is oneness with...
And to reach the highest potential level where, you see, when you have power, you can lose power. When you are healthy, you can lose your health. When you have money, you can lose your money. These are all transitory states. How can a transitory state be a permanent eternal state? So in a permanent eternal state, there can be a question of neither health nor sickness. You cannot say God is healthy and God is all powerful. If God is all powerful, His power can one day disappear. So in God there cannot be anything, you see, nothingness, as my Guruji used to say. We have to reach that state of nothingness, understanding that from that nothingness everything comes.
When people are in distress, they often pray, and when that happens, what they prayed for, they think their prayer has been heard. Is that true?
Not always.
Is there a God who hears the prayer?
We don't think of God in that sense of, anthropomorphic God, who hears and who waves his hand and blesses and things like that. We believe that all that we experience, we undergo is our own creation, action and reaction. And if simultaneously with prayer we are able to do something to change what I have created in myself, everything changes and I think my prayer has been answered, whereas really it is my work upon myself that is having the effect. So God is neither the giver nor the destroyer nor the punisher. It is us who punish ourselves, reward ourselves, make ourselves suffer. And once this is understood, in a sense, the God to whom we have to pray is right here in ourselves, you see. Therefore we start meditation.
How should we pray correctly?
The correct prayer, my master used to say, is to sit in meditation and silently offer the problem to God. And not request. Just offer the problem, let him solve. Like, you give a computer a problem, it solves it in whatever way it should. But what we do is to ask. Suppose there is some sick person in the house. Lord, may the sick person be well. It may be against that person's interest to get well. So prayers are not answered, you see. The problem is to say, God, this person is sick. Let your grace descend upon her or him and do whatever you wish. Let your will prevail, not mine. That's the right prayer.
How do you deal with all the expectations and projections that are cast on you from all the followers?
We try to clean it out. In a very real way, yes, you see. People do come with the fantasies, with expectations which have no basis in reality. It's very human for someone to come with problems, hoping that the problems will be removed. But then a guru of caliber must say, these problems are your own creation, not something given by God or Satan. You have created them in a past, maybe the moment past or the year past. Therefore, you are the cause of your problem. Change the cause, the problem will cease.
Can one tackle all problems of life by following this spiritual practice, or would you recommend sometimes to resort to therapy and so on?
You see, spiritual practice is not supposed to solve problems. It is supposed to take you to a state where perhaps there will be no problems. But we have to go through the problems we have created ourselves, as I said in answer to your previous question. And if there are problems such as health, one must go to the doctor. Because this is not a magic system, that you just wave your hand and everything disappears. If you want money, you have to go to the bank and draw it if there is some. If not, you work and earn.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But the master does not just leave his abhyasis to their problems. As far as possible, he assists them as a human being and advisor. But the real help does not lie in dealing with the problem outwardly. The help of the master rather consists in removing the inner causes for whatever problem there may be, in freeing the abhyasi of all inner fixations, prejudice, limitations. Once the abhyasi is free of his old inner patterns, he can deal with his life situation differently, and he can solve his problems himself. This is an important learning process by which the abhyasi develops. Only after inner cleaning an eternal, unlimited, divine existence becomes possible. The inner cleaning of the disciple is therefore a most important task for a true master. In Sahaj Marg, the master cleans the abhyasis through transmission of spiritual energy. This spiritual power can be received by an unlimited number of people. It is independent of space and time and lies beyond what can be measured by material standards. But the abhyasis feel the effect of this transmission inside themselves. It can make them experience spiritual conditions far beyond their own level of development. It can set fixed states inside the abhyasi into motion, dissolve complexities and wash them away. It is known that the subtler an energy, the deeper is its effect. Many hidden inner impressions leave the Abhyasi without his knowing. Other inner structures, however, which had governed the Abhyasi's thoughts, feelings and actions, rise into his consciousness so that he has to come to terms with them. Because of this cleaning process, the work of the master is not always pleasant for the Abhyasi. The Abhyasi realizes what he has been so far and now feels this old state to be quite unacceptable. He sees his prevailing situation clearer than ever. He experiences himself in his constraint, and an inner change becomes unavoidable and necessary. The whole spectrum of human emotions comes into swing during the cleaning phase. In fact, through the inner cleaning, the old constellation, the old basis inside the Abhyasi has already been dissolved. That is why he can now see it more clearly. Only in his consciousness the Abhyasi has to disconnect himself from the old state and let the new one become a reality. The founder of the system, Babuji, had defined transmission as the use of divine energy for the transformation of man. It is often a longer process to change from one state of consciousness to the next, and many small steps are necessary on the way. In these difficult phases, the Abhyasis like to gather near the Master's house, because they feel the need for his guidance. The transmission which helps the Abhyasi on his way is incessantly flowing from the Master. And even though it works independent of time and space, and the help of the Master has nothing to do with his physical presence, just to see him is for many Abhyasis a consoling inspiration. The personal presence of the Master is a big chance for the Abhyasis. Not only can the Master do some specific work, correct and accompany the Abhyasi's progress, but the Abhyasis also experience his presence and help, which is always there and leads them also through difficult phases. In this way, they learn to have confidence and cooperate with the Master.
Og så sker der en forvandlingsproces, og der kan man sige, at der har han i allerhøjeste grad en finger med i spillet, fordi hans vilje på en eller anden måde arbejder med, at vi bliver bragt videre igennem forskellige tilstande. Og at han selv gør opmærksom på, at det er hans store opgave, det er at bringe os igennem spirituelle tilstande, så vi ikke hænger fast. Altså, for det kan man meget vel gøre på en spirituel rejse. Så kan man komme til en eller anden salig tilstand og så sige, nu har vi det, og her bliver vi. Men det siger han, det er ikke en salig tilstand, der er virkeligheden. Han siger, at hvis du tager alle adjektiver væk, så har vi Gud tilbage. Så enkel er Gud. Det viser jo også noget om, at hvis Gud er så enkel, så må der også være mange tilstande, vi skal komme over for at komme videre.
Especially in the evening hours, the house where the master is staying has a magnetic attraction, because the personal presence of the master lets the Abhyasis experience again and again what it really is they are heading for. Mostly the master is willing to give another spontaneous meditation. Children have to leave and everyone is getting ready. Through transmission, the master can let the Abhyasis participate in higher conditions and make them experience the divine reality in their own hearts. The master's being reflects itself in the heart of the Abhyasi. Thus they come into direct contact with the spiritual reality which the master represents. This helps the Abhyasi to overcome his own temporary condition and shows him the inner direction. His longing for the goal grows. Transmission has also been called nourishment for the soul. It fills the disciple, strengthens him, makes him grow inwardly. As a result of the cleaning process and the experience of the divine in one's own heart, the whole life of the Abhyasi gets a new basis and intensity. He witnesses a deep and authentic process of inner change.
Qualcosa che sia realmente valido e vada al di là di come uno possa sentirsi nel praticare un sistema o un altro, che ci sono molti sistemi che apparentemente ti fanno sentire meglio, no? Però io credo che la grossa differenza, la grossa discriminante tra un sistema ed un altro sia nel cambiamento che esso produce. E questo sia veramente l'unica cosa che alla fine ti dà una prova che un sistema funziona. Se tu dopo un certo tempo sei cambiato, questa è la prova. Perché ci sono tante cose che ti fanno stare bene una settimana, un mese o anche di più, ma questo non è reale.
You have experienced many positive changes through meditation. Why do you think does one change in such a positive way?
Well, I think everything, it all stems from it comes from the highest, which is also the most intimate, which is the spiritual peace. And that has to do with the opening of the heart. And what's in the heart, when the heart opens, is the love that's there, and then that begins to pervade everything, and affects everything. And even changes, in a sense, the quality of my thinking and my view of others, and it's made a lot of corrections in my character.
On sent qu'il y a une énorme différence avec ce que l'on était il y a 5 ans, il y a 10 ans. Il y a une énorme différence. Mais cette différence, elle peut difficilement s'intellectualiser. On peut difficilement mettre des mots dessus, parce que c'est quelque chose qui est, dans le sens où on n'a pas à réfléchir pour se comporter de cette manière-là. C'est pas comme quand j'ai appris à compter, ou comme quand où il faut à un moment donné que je réfléchisse pour dire 3 x 4. Non, là c'est pas pareil. Je suis devant une situation et je suis l'état qui s'est développé. Donc difficile de mettre des mots. Mais quand même on peut dire que c'est une plénitude intérieure, que c'est vraiment avoir enrichi sa vie intérieure, avoir développé un sentiment, une sensation à l'intérieur de soi qui est tout à fait inconnue et qui est extraordinaire. Je pense que c'est peut-être ça qu'on appelle la présence divine ou quelque chose de ce style-là, mais ça vaut vraiment la peine d'essayer, ça vaut vraiment la peine de suivre un chemin qui n'est pas facile. Parce que comme c'est une voie d'auto-réalisation, comme c'est nous-mêmes qui travaillons sur ce chemin, même si nous avons l'aide du maître est là comme un guide de montagne pour nous aider à passer les obstacles, pour nous aider à continuer. Mais c'est nous qui marchons sur le chemin.
Some may fear that in a system in which the master plays such an essential role, the followers may become dependent on an outer person instead of developing their own strength, their own security and understanding.
Im Gegenteil. Im Gegenteil. Dieser Yoga-Weg ist ein Weg, wo es zur wirklichen eigenen inneren Autorität kommt. Es gilt ja nicht nur, dem äußeren Meister als Lehrer zu folgen, sondern vor allen Dingen ja seinen eigenen inneren Meister zu erkennen und zu hören und zu folgen.
Was ist dieser innere Meister?
Das ist im Grunde unsere verschütt gegangene Herkunft. Es ist unser höheres Selbst. Es ist, psychologisch könnte man es vielleicht auch ausdrücken, eine ganz andere Bewusstseinsebene. Unser Ich-Bewusstsein, unser duales Denken ist ja nur ein kleines Spektrum.
The process leads the Abhyasi to overcome his inner limitations and to develop a masterly condition within himself. The more he progresses, the more he experiences the spiritual essence of the master in his own inner self, and the personal human aspect loses importance. The goal of the disciple is to merge with the essence of the master, which in its place is merged with the divine. The term master has therefore many dimensions in Sahaj Marg.
Für mich ist das eine sehr weite Spanne. Der Meister zunächst ist natürlich sichtbar als die Person, aber ich denke, je weiter die Entwicklung geht, je weiter die eigene Kapazität sich entwickelt, umso tiefer kann man den Meister empfinden. Also für mich ist es wie eine Reflexionsfläche. Je tiefer ich mich entwickle, umso tiefer erlebe ich den Meister, um letztendlich an die Essenz zu kommen. Aber das ist dann auch schon das Ziel.
How the individual lives his relationship with the master at a given moment is consequently conditioned by his actual phase of development. And there is room for many an innocently loving approach, since every experience is important for the individual.
Gefällt mir gut.
Good. This is Master's favorite dish. Bread rolls.
This Lakshmi has made for Master.
We spoke with the master about the interplay between master and Abhyasi. Is there not the danger that Abhyasis develop some kind of unhealthy dependence on a personality outside themselves?
It is possible.
In the master.
It is possible, and the master must always be awake to see that it is not occurring, or if it occurs, it is corrected at once. I see it all around me.
When we go for spiritual development, generally human beings also wish for freedom. But on the other hand, dependence on the guru is also to be developed. Isn't that a kind of a contradiction?
Yes, you are right, but we have to understand what freedom really means. My guru used to say that freedom from freedom is the real freedom. So long as we are conscious that we are free, we are only free from bondage, we are not really free. It's a comparative state. You see that till yesterday I was in prison, today I am free. Till yesterday India was under bondage of British rule, today it is free. So it's a comparative state. When there is no comparative state, that is freedom. And the Guru seems to give it to us. In the beginning, dependence on the Guru transfers our millions of dependences into one dependence. Finally, that dependence is cut when we merge with them. Now we are no longer dependent or independent, you see. Both fall off.
There's so many abhyasis one can see running after you all the time. Is it useful for them? I mean, how do you see this phenomenon?
My masters used to say, at least it keeps them away from mischief.
What is the abhyasi's own will? What role does the abhyasi's own will play in this system?
The abhyasi's own will is of the fundamental importance, because if he has no will, he cannot follow the teaching of the master or the practice prescribed by the system. So without the will, the abhyasi is useless to himself, to anybody else.
When the main task which the master has set himself for a seminar is over, we see relaxed and peaceful faces. Most of them prefer to gather near master's house at leisure hours, enjoying to be there, hoping to catch sight of him in some way or the other. Because the person of the master has a wonderful and very special attraction for his abhyasis. And master gives him as much possibility as he can to relate to him, to see him, to be in contact with him. What effect does his presence have on his followers? What do people flocking around him feel? What do they experience being near him?
Je sais pas comment. Il y a plus, ce serait comme quand on a plein de questions, on a envie de lui poser plein de questions sur la spiritualité, sur soi, et quand on arrive à côté, eh ben, il n'y a plus rien. Il n'y a plus rien. On est là, on est simplement bien d'être là et on s'assoit et on resterait là des heures et des heures et des heures.
Merci. L'impression de rentrer vraiment, d'être vraiment chez moi, quoi, en famille, vraiment. Intérieur surtout.
Merci.
Well, I feel like not to part at all. Just stay there all the time.
How would you describe his atmosphere? What
Well,
is
it is love. It is love. Before I met him, I was never felt that I'm loved that much. You know?
What is the difference for you between meditating and being near him physically?
Well, meditating, it's just, how to say, it's a technical thing to reach maybe what we feel when we are near to him. It's a sort of technique for us to help us to establish this atmosphere, to create this atmosphere inside ourselves, the same what we feel when we are together with him. Well, when you are with him, you don't have to work on that, you're just in there.
I feel so comfortable, so light and peaceful, and happy. I'm happy inside.
Thank you.
The presence of Master itself creates an atmosphere which just oozes out from his being, and the people who are just sitting around, they are hungry for this oozing of his own being, just without any effort, or say effortless oozing of himself into the atmosphere, and which we enjoy it.
what is it they feel. I can only tell you what is it I used to feel with my master and which I still feel, you see. When I am with the master, physically or in thought, I forget myself. I don't exist anymore. And when I don't exist anymore, I have no problems, no worries, no thoughts, no nothing, you see, not even a goal. In a sense, I am with him. And my master once told me that this is a very wonderful condition to be in, because if you are with a king in his palace, what is the difference between you and him? You eat what he eats, you sleep on beds like his, you bathe in rose water if he bathes in rose water, but it's not good to be a king, because then you have all the problems and responsibilities. So when I used to be with my master when he was on earth physically, it was a total bliss for me. Precisely because I no longer existed to myself.
Love is always a very important feature of spiritual development. But it is not the human kind of love which is meant. Can you explain or talk about the difference?
I don't know what is the human kind of love really. If you are talking of physical love, it is one aspect of love. When there is real love, that is when hearts are united, then there is nothing wrong with the physical union of the two hearts, you see. But if there is only a physical union and no love from the heart, then we call it lust. They are both four-letter words, as somebody said. But the enormous difference. And this love, the ability to love somebody else without expectation, that is true love. In modern life, we don't seem to find it much. We have to expect. You love your child, you are expecting so many things from that child. It must grow as you want it to, it must succeed in life, it must stand first in school, so many stupid things, you see. But to love without expectation is real spiritual love.
And that is also towards God.
Even towards God, even towards the Guru. I mean, if somebody says, I love my Guru because he is going to liberate me, that is no love, you see. That again becomes a transaction. I love you because you are going to give me something.
How do you actually go about practicing it? I mean, how do you transform your mind to think of this way, not to expect anything? Because when you have a child, you expect that he grows up and become a nice child, and when you grow old, this child will serve you and so on. How do you actually go in and being practical about this question?
How does God love us?
He does not.
Without expectation. Because if he expected from us, he would love the saint and not the sinner. But there is a philosophy that God loves the sinner more than the saint, because the sinner needs his love more than the saint. So our love has to be need-based. Not our need, but upon the need of the person whom we love. The child is sick, it needs medicine. With your love, you must give medicine. You may say, aha, but doesn't it mean I want the child to be well? Of course. But it is not something you expect. You are looking at the child's life, its welfare. Isn't it? So when you put the interest of the other person first, it automatically becomes a selfless love and therefore a divine love.
But Master's love is something
Well, Master's love, Mother's love, they say, in India we think of the mother's love as the highest form of love. Fathers rarely love without expectation, but mother loves with total abandonment of all expectation. Therefore, mother's love is praised as the highest next to God's love.
But you have said yourself that the development in love is such that you transform into love itself.
The simple truth is that when you have a master and you love him, all your capacity to love is sort of, put in this bank, love bank as we can call it. Initially we may expect so many things, but when this love slowly progresses from the merely human situation where I want my Guru to help me get a job, not make me sick, etc., I love him as something who is a transcendental figure, person, you see. And I am no longer conscious of what he is going to do for me or give me. I am not even conscious that I need what he was going to give me. In this way, I learn to love without expectation. Now, when I have learned to love without expectation, the same love will be in all ways in all situations. Therefore, my master said, love him who loves all. It is easier to love one person without expectation and thereby transform the love to love everybody without expectation. Leave the matter of loving everyone to him because he loves without expectation. Therefore, he can love all. Now, when we love with expectation, the love changes to hate because love changes to disappointment, to frustration. You know, in the Gita, there's that famous sloka that when desire is unfulfilled, it becomes anger. Anger leads to, you know, perturbation of the thinking process, and when that happens, destruction follows. So, we destroy not only ourselves, but the object of our love. Whereas here, both we and the object of our love grow together because there is no expectation. You see the difference?
The path towards divinity has often been called a path of love, for love and longing are those forces that really make a person move, that give him the capacity to change and to endure whatsoever for the beloved. But such divine love, such love that makes a person divine, has first to be learned. And this is what a true master comes for, to teach love by being love. He is a person who, having outgrown the world, stays in the world, not to enjoy, but to be enjoyed by others. To let them experience this love beyond physical attraction, beyond selfishness, beyond pride. This love being totally self-contained, self-contented, and yet always alert, always at service. It is only the presence of a higher human being that can tear away self-delusion and teach the true state of love. While talking and joking outwardly, the real communication, the real togetherness between the master and his abhyasis goes on inwardly. Without their knowing, they sink into the inner being of the Master, living the divine state inside themselves.
Elder one.
How's your mummy? She's fine. He must be knowing the latest.
Yes, I saw her in Delhi now. She's fine.
I spoke to her telling I was going to Denmark. She was very happy. She said I should meet you 5 minutes alone.
With the Master, the abhyasis experience the communion with a higher existence while being in the world at the same time. This experience they take along with them when they leave, and this is also what they have to learn in their daily lives. To live a normal life, attending to everything, doing their duties, by staying in the divine state all along. Not to run away from life for the sake of spirituality, but to bring a higher existence into the material life, making it divine. Love for the Master, remembrance of his divine being, make his state ever present for the abhyasis. A seminar where the abhyasis can feel the spiritual atmosphere of his presence all over is a preparation for this. Here the Master tells an anecdote from his own disciplehood where he had a difference of opinion with his master Babuji.
On some mission matter, for 2-3 days we did not speak to each other. He used to send for me, I did not go. Most rebellious attitude. Then on the third day he called me, before I was going from Shahjahanpur back to Madras. I went because it is etiquette to take leave of the master. So he said, if you are so angry with me, why don't you leave me and go? I said, you are a crook, Babuji Maharaj. And he said, oh, how is that? I said, you know you are a crook. Because wherever I look to see a place without you, I don't find it. And you are asking me to go somewhere. I said, withdraw yourself from some place so that I can go there. Then he laughed and I laughed and we hugged. The quarrel was finished, you see. But it's the truth also. There is no place without him. At least for me. So you see, the inevitability of the presence. Now we are saying, oh, I felt the presence, Chari, of Guru in my meditation. It is crazy. It only means you are become sensitive to his presence now. He is always there. Like the sun is always there, but you turn away and you see the dark shadow. The difficulty is, we all want God when we want God. Not when he wants us. See? So we try to put God in the church, in the temple, no? Go on Sunday and we are happy. There also we have our romances, our quarrels, our tea parties.
Seeing the master winding up things at the end of a seminar is always a matter of mixed feelings for the Abhyasis. Inwardly enriched, fulfilled by what they have been given, and yet sad to part from their master. The wish to just stay near him and forget the rest will always be in contradiction to their task of going back into the world, fulfilling their duties, putting into practice what they have learned, becoming more and more perfect human beings.
Scusi, io non parlare italiano.
When the work of the master is done at one place, he often presents himself in a jovial mood, although his work is continuing endlessly wherever he goes.
What about your Swahili you were into?
Yes, I am learning a bit of Swahili, I am learning Russian, I have to now learn a little Polish, I am learning Spanish.
You speak Yugoslavian?
Oh, that is old.
Yeah, but you do speak.
Oh yes, I speak Spanish. These are I am learning, because now we are always in the past.
Yes.
Oh, I love this place, I had my honeymoon right here. But we can always have a second and a third and a fourth. Nothing prevents it. Youthful heart.
Yes.
Hi, little one.
See you in Copenhagen.
Yes, boss.
Okay.
How can a person bear so many projections, so many wishes, so many hopes, so much permanent attention on himself without any break at any moment? How can he bear the responsibility for hundreds of thousands of people expecting the highest progress by his work and guidance? How can he bear all the disciples pining for him without being charmed, without developing any feeling of his own greatness? There is only one answer. It is because he has a master above him, in whom he is lost, whose servant he is, for whom alone he lives. Human dignity lies in the veneration of a higher being, his master Babuji once remarked, a thought worth pondering over.
निगाहों दिल की यही आखिरी तमन्ना है, निगाहों दिल की यही आखिरी तमन्ना है।